Ms. Pingree?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And let me just reiterate, so you hear it from both sides of the aisle, and you've heard that we are, Representative McCollum has been a former chair as well, and so we are very united on this tribal funding, and I think that hits a very sensitive spot on the schools. And I understand some of the concerns that you've been raised about duplication and a variety of other things about quality of schools, but funding construction is an ongoing huge issue here. I know I worked on a Passamaquoddy school from the time I got here to many, many years trying to make sure that they got it across the finish line, and it can take, decades to get the funding for these schools. And while, as you've all noted, there are tribes that have the resources to do amazing things in their own community, many tribes are just not in that position. So I hope we can restore that funding level, and certainly you'll hear from this committee that we're interested in that. And I wanted to start with a question on, it's following up a little bit on what both my colleagues have mentioned on how the funding gets spent and allocated. So the continuing resolution for 2025 enacted more than 2 months ago, was enacted more than 2 months ago. Now we're 8 months into the fiscal year. And given that timing, it's just critical that the department quickly obligate the appropriated funding. So my example on that is similar to what Mr. Cole was asking about, but it's actually a different pot of money. I'm hearing concerns from the Maine State Historic Preservation Office that they have not received the state-by-state apportionment, nor has the Park Service issued a notice of funding opportunity. So as a result, in the state of Maine, we're facing a potential layoff of the federally funded staff, and Maine is not alone. This manufactured, in my mind, funding crisis is being inflicted on all of our states. For example, 12 people have already been laid off in Ohio, and that amounts to about a third of their staff in the State Historic Preservation Office. These offices have an integral role in the advancement of federal projects, and holding back the funds that Congress appropriated for these offices means delaying projects, including in the oil and gas sector. So I did contact your office about this last week. I'm expecting that you might have an update for me. Do you know the status of these funds?
We're waiting on the apportionment to come, but we're pushing hard on trying to get this out because it's, as you say, we have every incentive. Our incentives are in line with yours to get these dollars out the door.
So, I mean, the chair asked you a question earlier about the 2026 budget, and if we appropriate money that goes beyond what's in this skinny budget or what we see in the full budget, will you spend the money? You said it's the law. The Interior Bill, which is in the CR, contains a provision that requires that amounts appropriated to the Department of Interior, quote, shall be available for obligation and expenditure not later than 60 days after the date of enactment of the act. And as you said, that's the law. OMB is not a portion of the funding. You just said that. But we are past the 68-day deadline, and I just want to know the role that you're taking. Are you pushing the OMB to appropriate your department's funding?
Well, I didn't bring a stack of communication that's gone back and forth, but I would say that would represent that, yeah, we're pushing.
Okay, pushing is good. So just from my perspective, if you don't get this funding, then that is impoundment. It is breaking the law. And I think perhaps on both sides of the aisle, we're feeling very frustrated this administration is not expeditiously appropriating what we funded. I guess I would just have to say, and I mentioned to you earlier, there's a lot of frustration here, and Congress has the power of the purse. We meet in this committee, and we do an incredible amount of work, negotiating back and forth on both sides of the aisle to arrive at these numbers and to figure out what should be done. And to have this administration just wantonly disregard what we have done and to worry about having to do that in the next 2026 budget, I would ask, why do committees meet? Why do we do the work that we're doing if, in fact, we can't count on the OMB to do what is being done? And I know there are layers here, and I really appreciate saying that you've got a stack of communications because I fully believe you're doing that, and I know you have a lot of executive experience. So I am just encouraging you to put full force of pressure on it, to not break the law, and to do what's required to do. Thank you.
Will do. And as a governor, I understand the importance of the state historical preservation offices and the tribal historical preservation offices. So we're aligned in getting appropriated money to people so they can do their jobs.
Great. We will look forward to seeing that continue to happen. I'll yield back there, and I can ask my next question later.